Arthur Asher Miller, born October 17, 1915, and died February 10, 2005. He was an American playwright and essayist. He was a prominent figure in American theater, writing dramas that include plays such as All My Sons, Death of a Salesman, The Crucible, which we are familiar with, and A View from a Bridge. Miller was often in the public eye, particularly during the late 1940s, the 1950s, and early 1960s. He was also married to Marilyn Monroe at one point. Arthur Miller was born in Harlem, New York City. He was the second of three children of Isidore and Augusta Miller. They were both Polish-Jewish immigrants. His father owned a women's clothing manufacturing business, employing 400 people. He became a wealthy and respected man in the community. In the Wall Street crash of 1929, the family lost almost everything and moved to Gravenson, Brooklyn. As a teenager, Miller delivered bread every morning before school to help the family. After graduating in 1932 from Abraham Lincoln High School, he worked at several menial jobs to pay for his college tuition. At the University of Michigan, which he attended, Miller first majored in journalism and worked as a reporter and night editor for the student paper, the Michigan Daily. It was during this time that he wrote his first play, No Villain. Miller switched his major to English and subsequently won the Avery Hopwood Award for No Villain. The award brought him his first recognition and led him to begin to consider that he could have a career as a playwright. Miller enrolled in a playwriting seminar taught by the influential Professor Kenneth Rowe, who instructed him in his early forays into playwriting. Rowe emphasized how a play is built in order to achieve its intended effect, or what Miller liked to call the dynamics of play construction. Rowe provided realistic feedback along with much-needed encouragement and became a lifelong friend of his. Miller retained strong ties to his alma mater throughout the rest of his life, establishing the university's Arthur Miller Award in 1985, an Arthur Miller Award for Dramatic Writing in 1999, and lending his name to the Arthur Miller Theater in 2000. In 1937, Miller wrote Honors at Dawn, which also received the Avery Hopwood Award. In 1938, Miller received a BA in English. After graduation, he joined the Federal Theater Project, a New Deal agency established to provide jobs in theater. He chose the Theater Project, although he had an offer to work as a scriptwriter for the 20th Century Fox. However, Congress, worried about possible communist infiltration, closed the project in 1939. Miller began working in the Brooklyn Navy Yard while continuing to write radio plays, some of which were broadcast on CBS. In 1940, he married Mary Grace Slattery. The couple had two children, Jane and Robert, born May 31st, 1947. Miller was exempted from military service during World War II because of a high school football injury to his left kneecap. In his early career, Miller wrote The Man Who Had All the Luck, which was produced in New Jersey in 1940 and won the Theater Guild's National Award. The play closed after 4 performances with disastrous reviews. In 1946, Miller's play All My Sons, the writing of which had commenced in 1941, was a success on Broadway, earning him his first Tony Award for Best Author, and his reputation as a playwright was established. Years later, in 1994, interview with Ron Rifkin, Miller said that most contemporary critics regarded All My Sons as a very depressing play in a time of great optimism, and that the positive reviews from Brooks Atkinson of New York Times had saved it from failure. In 1948, Miller built a small studio in Roxbury, Connecticut. There, in less than a day, he wrote Act 1 of Death of a Salesman. Within 6 weeks, he completed the rest of the play, one of the classics of world theater. Death of a Salesman premiered on Broadway on February 10, 1949 at the Morosco Theater. The play was commercially successful and critically acclaimed, winning a Tony Award for Best Author, the New York Drama Circle Critics Award, and the Pulitzer Prize for Drama. It was the first play to win all three of these major awards. The play was performed a total of 742 times. In 1956, a one-act version of Miller's verse drama, A View from the Bridge, opened on Broadway in a joint bill with one of Miller's lesser-known plays, A Memory of Two Mondays. The following year, Miller revised A View from the Bridge as a two-act prose drama, which Peter Brook directed in London. In June 1956, Miller left his first wife, Mary Slattery, and on June 25th, he married the famous Marilyn Monroe. Miller and Monroe had met in April 23, 1951, when they had a brief affair and had remained in contact since then. When Miller attended the hearing in June 1956, Miller left his first wife for Monroe, then married photographer Inge Morath on February 17, 1962. And the first of their two children, Rebecca, was born September 15, 1962. Their son Daniel was born with Down syndrome in November 1966. He was institutionalized and excluded from the Millers' personal life at author's insistence. The couple remained together until Inge's death in 2002. Arthur Miller's son-in-law, actor Daniel Day-Lewis, is said to have visited Daniel frequently and to have pursued Arthur Miller to reunite with his adult son, Daniel. Miller died of heart failure after a battle against cancer, pneumonia, and congestive heart disease at his home in Roxbury, Connecticut. He had been in a hospice at his sister's apartment in New York since his release from hospital the previous year. He died on the evening of February 10, 2005. He is interred at Roxbury Cemetery in Roxbury.